Receiving the award and accepting the presidency. Come on, guys, come on up here. You got to move a little quicker than that. You moved quicker than that back in 1952. Let's all get up here. You stand in front. Stand any way you want. Come on. Watch yourselves on the stage. You don't want to have any injuries after all these years. Receiving the award on behalf of the team will be a Hall of Famer here at Watertown High School and at Harvard. Great football and baseball player at Watertown, later at Harvard, John Babe Samorian. Babe?
Thank you. You can all sit down, please. You guys want to stay here, or you want to sit down? You can stand? It's all right. You're going to stand? All right. When I came here tonight, I saw Bob Caprillia, and I said, Bobby, when are we going on? And he said, last. And I said, last? Yeah, last. And I said, well, I hope there's going to be some people left. He said, don't worry about it. The whole team's here and their family. So we got everyone here. And I want to thank you on behalf of my teammates. I want to thank you all for this wonderful recognition of our team. It does two things. It allows us to get together like this, and there is no feeling that is any better than seeing your friends of 50 years ago, and seeing them in this environment, and it's just a feeling that is almost indescribable. And I want to thank you, members of the town of Watertown, for this opportunity for all of us to do this, because it's just a great thrill to see all our buddies again. Those of you and most of us who have been in locker rooms and have shared that wonderful camaraderie of a locker room and remember those wonderful memories, whether they were victories or defeat, didn't matter. The fact that you shared them with your friend, the fact that you went through the grime and the dirt or whatever, and now almost 50 years later, to come together and relive some of those memories, especially Bobby in that great video that was absolutely superb. I just want to thank you. And one other note, really, on the town. When we were playing ball here, I think what really made us feel great was the fact that we knew when we went out on Victory Field, and even more importantly, when we traveled to Keene, New Hampshire, or Leominster, or Winchester, or wherever, we had a great following. We were like the home team when we were playing away, because we had such great support. And I know, because of coming to this evening over the past few years and watching all the great inductees tonight, that support that you give, that this town continues to give to its athletes and its students, is really probably the epitome of what this is all about, this Hall of Fame that Bob and his committee have started. And on behalf of the team, I really want to thank all of you for that. Unfortunately, there are some members of our team who are no longer with us. And forgive me if I forget someone, but I have a list of those members who are deceased, and I would just like to take a moment to read it to you, and just a moment of silence, if you would. George Abadesian, Stu Packard, who was the co-captain of the team, Coco Gregorian, Frank Kelly, Butch Gaipo, Rich Mastrangelo, and of course our great coach, Joe Zeno. If you just a moment of silence, please. Thank you. You know, when I think of the team, and I don't think of the team in the words and in the way that have been described earlier in this evening. In that, I mean, I didn't think when we were playing football at Watertown that we had a legacy of winning. We had come off, in our sophomore year, we had come off a season that I think was mediocre. I don't even remember what the one-loss record was, and I apologize to the members of that team if I'm saying something that is derogatory. I don't mean it in that way at all. But it's just that I never had a feeling that you know, that we had some championship legacy to fulfill. And I can remember our junior year. We were going down to Brockton to play Brockton High School. And they were the Class A champions. You know, it's like the Super Bowl Division I champs today. We were playing Brockton. And we were, well, I don't know if I could say scared, but let me tell you, we were intimidated. And we were well coached, that's for sure. Joe Zeno, he drilled us and he prepared us, but we were still scared. And we went out and played the Class A biggest team in the state of Massachusetts, and we beat them. And we were probably more surprised than they were. And when I can remember riding home on the bus from Brockton, and we were looking at each other. I don't know if you guys remember that, but I was bewildered, frankly, that we had beaten the state Class A champs. I think that game was the roots of our championship season the following season. That season was 51. We won in 52. But I think that game made us come together and made us look at each other and say, hey, you know what? We can do it. We're pretty good. But as Joe Zeno would tell us during that season of our junior year, and I'm talking about the seniors now that were on that team, our junior year, he would tell us, because we didn't win every game the season of 51 by any means. I think we were 5-5, weren't we? Something like that? 5-5. He would say to us when we'd lose, are you guys tired of reading your press clippings? Because when we'd win, it would just seem that we would get big write-ups in the Boston papers for whatever reason. We were knocking off some pretty good teams. But that made us begin to believe. And as you all know, in life or in sports, the first lesson you learn and the first step you need to take is that of believing in yourself. And that's what we accomplished in that first game. That's what Joe Zeno taught us. And he gave us the discipline, and he gave us the homework and the drill, and you know the drill. There is a story I want to tell you. And I'm not going to tell you any more stories about our season. We did have a wonderful season. We went on the following year to win the state Class B championship, and we were all thrilled and exalted and, you know, exhilaration and all those wonderful feelings you have. And at the end of the season, as I was walking out of the locker room down at Victory Field, I was walking with a buddy of one of these guys, Tony Messina. And Tony, just a quick background, and Tony, forgive me for saying this, Tony, but Tony was certainly not on the National Honor Society in high school, right? So I said to Tony, Tony, what are you going to do? And he said, John, he said, someday I'm going to play college football. I said, that's terrific, Tony, because Tony had really no hope of going to college and playing football after high school, I don't think. Right, Tony? Right? But Tony went off into the U.S. Navy, and he spent 22 years. Or 22 years, Tony? 22 years in the U.S. Navy. And I don't know if you saw the story, but oh, I don't know, it was 10, 15 years ago. Is that right? 78, 20 years ago. Okay. 22 years ago. There was a story in the Boston Globe about Tony Messina. And I want to tell you the story because I think it really characterizes the team of 1952, what we were all about. What we were all about was Tony Messina. Let me tell you the story. Tony went off in the Navy. He spent his 22 years in the Navy, and as I said, his dream, like the dream we had in the beginning of '52 to win a championship, his dream was to play college football. So at the age of 44, he went to Florida State. Now, Florida State doesn't play the kind of football I played, Ivy League football. Didn't play that kind of football. They played pretty tough football. And Tony went down there at the age of 44 and tried out for the team and made the varsity. Now, he colored his hair black. He actually did. He colored his hair black so they wouldn't know his age. And he made the team, and before the first game, unfortunately, the coach came up to him and said, "Tony, I have some bad news." And what's the bad news? "Tony, you don't have enough academic credits to play." So, unfortunately, Tony couldn't play. But he didn't give up. He didn't give up. It was like our team of 52. He didn't give up. What he did the following year, he worked out as hard as ever, and he made the team again at the age of 45. They still didn't know who he was in age. Matter of fact, he told me tonight when they asked him to write down on his little card, "How old are you? What year you were born?" He just put the month and day. He didn't fill in the year. So he made the team again. And unfortunately, someone found out that he was 45 years old. And the school did not want to take the liability, the chance that something might happen to him and something could happen to them. So they asked Tony to retire. But he did it. Like our team in '52 did it. He did it. He made the team. He got on a varsity football team at the ripe old age of 45. I think we ought to give him a hand, right? I know it's been a long evening, so I'm going to wrap this up. And I would just like to wrap it up with something that one of my friends sent me, a little saying, sent me a couple of years ago. And if I can remember it, I hope I don't blow it, but what it said was, work like you don't need the money, love like you've never been hurt, dance like no one's watching, and play like there's no tomorrow. Thank you all very much.